What's up, guys? It's Texans fan in rehab here. Just wanted to do another recap this week. Got a big week, a whole lot of stuff going on this week, man. It's been a really good, productive week, and I'm started off right now talking about the biggest news that we had this week, which was the trade of the first pick. The Chicago Bears traded with the Carolina Panthers to get that first pick swapped out. Man, listen, that was a big, big, big deal. The Carolina Panthers were willing to give up the swap for their first round pick, which is the ninth pick in the draft, several future picks, and DJ Moore, one of their top receivers. So DJ Moore is going over to Chicago. He's hopefully going to 1-2 with Justin Fields over there. Maybe they can put something together. I think it was a good move for the Chicago Bears, obviously, because they didn't have to give up really anything in this exchange other than the first round pick. And I don't think they really had a desire to do anything major with the first round pick anyway. They didn't lose anything because they're moving to the ninth pick of the draft. So they still get to have an optimal first round pick to satisfy whatever needs that they're looking for. For Carolina, hey, this is an aggressive move. I think it's a big move for them. And, to be determined who they have their eyes on. But I think they're probably looking at my guy, of course, CJ Stroud. And so I think that this is a great opportunity for the Texans if the Texans just sit still and stand pat. I think that the Texans can get who they probably are favoring anyway in number 2 with Bryce Young. So if they can stay the course and stand pat in the number 2 spot, I think they can get a good, smart, accurate quarterback. Small. I think that's been my complaint before, that he's small. But I think they can get a good quarterback to satisfy a huge need that they definitely have. So I think the next concern that this will bring for the Texans is the fact that, are we going to try to throw somebody out there as a starting quarterback that's a rookie? We're going to try to throw him to the wolves right away, or are we going to try to, do something to bridge the gap in between? And so that kind of leads us into where we are with free agency. And so free agency has been not officially underway. We're kind of in that tampering zone. Well, technically the pre-tampering zone. The tampering zone is actually supposed to start tomorrow on Monday, and then free agency is supposed to start, I believe, on Wednesday. So we have this 2-day window that's supposed to be upcoming, that's supposed to allow for any team to reach out to the free agents and kind of get things kick started. But that hasn't stopped moves and transactions from being made. So I'm going to touch on some of the moves and transactions that have been made, and then we'll get back into this whole free agency thing. So first and foremost, the Texans earlier this week, they signed Robert Woods. I think that was a pretty good acquisition for them. He was a free agent that's coming from Tennessee. Didn't have a good season at all with Tennessee. In this one season with Tennessee, he was coming off an ACL injury that he had when he was playing with the Rams. Just one of those things, man. I mean, not a great offense out there in Tennessee. They were struggling between quarterbacks once their starting quarterback got injured. I mean, I don't know if you guys saw the game against the Texans last year where they brought out Willis to get out there and play, and basically the second half of the ball game here in town, he didn't even throw the ball except for one time, I believe. So it wasn't like they were trying to showcase a high-power offense. So it didn't really give Robert Woods an opportunity to shine and show his skill set out there. But Texans took a chance on him anyway because, hey, they need, talent. They need bodies. I mean, so, we got Brandon Cooks who's still hinting at the fact that he wants to get up out of here. So you might as well take a shot at the young guy, man. Excuse me. Robert Woods is not a young guy. He's 31, or soon to be 31 years old. So as far as for football life, he's on the back end of his career, obviously. And so we'll see if he's got any gas left in that tank. So, I look forward to seeing what he can bring to the table. Maybe he could be a good veteran presence in the locker room for a couple of young guys that we may draft this year, or some free agents that we may acquire. Who knows, but to be determined. And then, moving forward from Robert Woods' acquisition, you have couple different guys that are kind of stirring a little bit of news. There's a center named Jake Brendel who played with the 49ers who might be an option. But I want to double back around to this whole free agency thing. So one thing that has come up is that maybe maybe a little bit of tampering going on with the Texans, and I'm hoping that that's not the case. Look, we've already lost a draft pick this week. I mean, we started out, we had 12 draft picks in this draft, and we're down to 11. I really hope that we don't lose another one. We lost that draft pick. I'm going to call it B.O.B. did it. We lost that draft pick because apparently back in, when Deshaun was here, we had agreed to give him a gym membership, and they didn't account for it properly on the books for the salary cap. Nuance, right? I know small things, but this gym membership tallied up to, I believe, $28,000 for a year or two or whatever it was. But whatever that reason was, it constituted the the NFL to turn around and remove the Texans' fifth round draft pick. So down one draft pick, got 11 more to go. Still, we have an abundance of draft picks to work from. But man, if they're saying what is speculated has happened, is that basically new offensive coordinator Bobby Slowick has basically addressed some form of the media. I think there was a press conference. If so, I missed it. Don't usually miss these things, but if so, I missed it. But it was confirmed that he basically said on Wednesday that, you know, they are looking at Jimmy Garoppolo and, you know, entering the opportunity to talk to him. Well, Jimmy Garoppolo isn't in a position where he can speak to teams yet. So putting that out there kind of confirms to a lot of people, especially in the media, that he would like to be entertained or wooed by the Texans. Or that the Texans would like to woo him. Let me make sure I say that properly. And that may signal the potential of tampering. I mean, the 49ers definitely have a claim that they could put out there. I know if I was the 49ers, I may entertain a claim that, you know, he's trying to woo the football player that we have under contract or getting ready to lose under contract, trying to get the best of him before he's, you know, had the opportunity to do so. So anyway, the Texans need to make sure that they can try to keep that thing secure. Hopefully we can learn from this type of mistake that, you know, we can't have this thing. I think that the Texans should know by now, because it wasn't that long ago, 2019, we had this tampering situation when it came to New England filing against us about trying to get Nick Caserio off their staff and get him to come here in the capacity that he ultimately ends up working with now as GM. But we had that bridge year where Bill O'Brien was the GM, de facto GM, if you will, or whatever you want to call that. But he was the GM in the year that they had this situation happen, and boy, like we suffered through that situation altogether. So I'm glad that we don't have Bill O'Brien anymore, but we don't need to keep exploring and dancing with this tampering thing. I want the Texans to get this thing figured out, that we keep our mouths shut until we cross over to this period where we can actually talk to the players. So hopefully they can learn from this and move forward. But now we're getting into the free agency thing. And so one of the things that happened early in the week, I put a video up, but it didn't come out right. I'll try to get that corrected, but there's a video that I'm working on that the Baltimore Ravens put the non-exclusive tag on Lamar Jackson. And so basically, Lamar Jackson has an opportunity to take a contract with any other team that he can turn around and he can bring back to Baltimore. And if Baltimore chooses to match that contract, then they keep Lamar Jackson. However, if Baltimore does not match his contract offer, then basically they can assume a first-round draft pick from any team that signs him for this year and one for next year. And so that's going to be kind of key, because, you know, if you ask me to get a 26-year-old guy who's an MVP, who's in the prime of his career, who's got all of that talent, save for the fact that he may get injured, to be able to bring a guy on like that and all it costs you might be 2 first-round draft picks, like, that's a no-brainer. I'm taking that all. Well, it may cost you a little bit more. Obviously, you got to get this guy in the contract and you got to pay him. So who knows what he's looking for? I predict he's probably looking for a contract that's in advance of what Deshaun Watson got, where Deshaun Watson basically got a fully guaranteed $230 million deal with Cleveland. Now, what is he worth? To be determined. I think what he's probably asking for, if I had to guess, would probably be about a $250 million deal. Uh, Speculative as to not whether he's worth it. We still got to figure out what the years might be on that request. Of course, no one knows because his agent is his mom. See how that goes. But so far, I guess is not good because he hasn't played in a while and we haven't seen him and we haven't heard from him. So to be determined. But I would love to see Lamar have the opportunity to come here. If it only cost us 2 draft picks, if it only cost us if it cost us $50 million a year, and let's say we can get him on a contract for maybe 6, 7 years, I doubt that his agent or himself or his mom will be looking for that type of contract. They'll probably be looking for something shorter, more like 4 years, so that they can take another bite out of the apple on the back end. Get another contract on the latter end of his career. I think that's probably what they'll be looking to do. Maybe there'll be more money waiting on the back end. So, little nuance to that situation, but I still think it's worth pursuing getting Lamar Jackson, again, 26-year-old MVP, as compared to anybody else that's out there in the free agent market. Now, if we can't get Lamar Jackson, then I think that it's probably worth it for us to go ahead and try to see if we can get Jimmy G, barring this situation and it might work out. I was on the bus, I was fully on the bus about getting Derek Carr when he was available, but guess what? He's already been scooped up by the Saints. The Saints did what they needed to do. They scooped up Derek Carr. I think that's a very good acquisition for them. Got him under contract already. He's already in the house bragging about the fact that he made his rounds to Chipotle. I mean, think about that, man. Like all the great food in New Orleans, and he goes to Chipotle. But he'll have plenty of time to get that figured out. But the quarterback market is very slight this year. I don't think there's a whole lot of names and faces that's going to change. But to be determined, the NFL will always show you something different every year. So you never know. We may see Tua move, even though he got a contract extension. But if something comes in at the last minute, they could turn around and push that contract on out the door and move him somewhere. We could see something happen. Well, I don't want to think that something would happen with Russell. Let's just call whatever year that was last year an anomaly. So we'll just say that there'll be a new Russell Wilson coming out this year. But, the transactions are still floating around there for Aaron Rodgers and what he might do. Aaron could retire. He could turn around and request to get moved over to the Jets or whatever. So to be determined, we're still early on in the process. Again, free agency starts on Wednesday, so I look forward to seeing what's going to happen. The news will be coming in fury. You'll see a lot of guys on Twitter that'll be dropping bombs left and right. So hold on to your horses. I may be checking in a couple more times this week with some updates instead of just doing this thing once a week like I've tended to been doing so far. But we'll see. And then, looking forward, man, I think that the Texans definitely have a lot of holes to fill. Free agency should be very good for us if we are willing to take some risk. There's a lot of second tier type of guys that are out there making moves. Jalen Ramsey just got traded today for some young. I think his last name is Long, but some young tight end that came out of the Miami system. He and a draft pick are going over to the Rams for Jalen, and Jalen's going to be back in old Florida, man. So he's going to be tearing it up out there. He gets to practice against Tyreek Hill, the special teamer, the punt return specialist, as he called him a couple years ago. He gets to practice against him every day, man. Him and Jalen Waddle, man. So some good competition is going to be going on out there in Miami. And, if Tua is healthy, that's a team to be on the lookout for, man. It's a lot of high-powered, high-priced talent that's going to be out there on the field. Hoping that the Texans can get to something close to that here real soon. But we have a long way to go. A lot of people to develop. A lot of coaches that are going to be busy in the off season and in the regular season, in the preseason to try to get these guys up to par, man. So, listen, just wanted to tap in with you guys again on this weekly thing. Go Texans.